All right, here we go. March 12th edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Meteorologist Matthew East here with you. Let's begin with a look at Boone. Look at that. What a nice scene. Snow flying this morning. Rain transitioned to snow up in the high country during the night. And what a pretty scene there with that snow flying up there in the high country of Boone. Beautiful stuff here. Let's take a look at our Greensboro tower camera. And this morning, there we go. There's one of our DOT cameras. There's our tower camera. It's rain at this point in the Triad as I cut the video. 36 degrees with a pretty stiff northeast wind. Down in Charlotte as well, we have rain flying this morning as we continue to see a scenario where the colder air is slowly working in from the north, and I'll show you more of that in just a second. But Dowd YMCA camera right now showing you a temperature of 42 over the airport with clouds and some rain across the region. So definitely a scenario here where we have wet conditions this morning in the Piedmont, but in many spots that'll transition to a snowy scenario. Winter storm warnings up for many mountain spots, and then you get out into the Piedmont, and just roughly align there, Burke County over toward Hickory and Catawba County, say toward Mooresville and Salisbury, Lexington, Asheboro, and points north in a winter weather advisory. And that could be altered, but that's the way it stands as I cut the video late in the 5 o'clock hour. So here's the deal. In the Piedmont, rain transitions to snow, and in many of the Interstate 85 Piedmont spots around the Triad zone, especially the heaviest period of snow in the 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. time period, so a midday deal. And it'll be a very uneven accumulation of snow due to a couple of factors, which I'll explain in a second. So there's your temperatures this morning. Colder air bleeding in from the north. Again, the rain has transitioned to snow as I cut the video in many mountain spots, and also in the higher elevations of western Wilkes and Surry County as well. But then you head further southeast, it's been rain, and it still is rain again as I cut the video. And here's what is moving in. You look back off to the southwest. Here's your batch of rain in Georgia and the upstate of South Carolina. That will move in and kind of slowly then pivot across the area. So a very tricky, very dynamic storm system, a lot of moving pieces here to try to iron out. Low pressure will really crank off the coast, and that's going to pull that rain-snow line southeastward as temperatures aloft cool. There's a bit of a warm nose early this morning, about 5,000 feet, a layer of warmer temperatures there, about 5,000 feet, and that'll get eroded with time as we go through the day. So here's what Futurecast looks like throughout the day. I think it's doing a pretty good job here handling this system. As you can see, this what it basically is a deformation band. This northwestern flank of this low pressure will crank, and I think the precipitation rates could get pretty heavy at times. And I wouldn't even be shocked if there were a clap of thunder involved in this as we get deeper into the day today. So here's what I'm thinking. And again, this is not a typical system where it's pretty well-defined lines of accumulation amounts. I think this is a scenario where we will have very, very uneven amounts of snowfall accumulation. And I'll say this right off the top. We're looking at mainly grassy and elevated surfaces. But in the pink shaded area, I'll say dusting to 2 inches, and I say 2 inches plus because I would not be shocked at all if there were some lollipops or 3 or 4 inches involved here or there, and certainly some higher totals in the mountains. The mountains will do better than that. This is just a general idea. But for the Piedmont zones, the dusting to 1 inch or 2 plus. It should have colored in the mountains in a different shade, but I was just kind of focusing east of there. The mountains are going to say mostly snow with this. But even within that pink area, there'll be spots where the precipitation rates are not as heavy. And when you lose the heavier rates of precipitation, this will transition from snow to light rain or drizzle. And so there could be some spots with even no accumulation, even in the heart of this accumulation area. And we'll see if that batch of heavier precipitation can make it down to places like Charlotte. It is on the border. We'll see. It's a very challenging deal. I'll show you what Futurecast is showing here in terms of its snow accumulation amounts. So you just take that model at face value, what it's showing. There's the European computer model. And finally, there's the American model. Actually, that's the latest run, just came in. It looks like the GFS. That total a little different than earlier in the morning. So that's what the GFS is showing. So, again, tricky deal. And once we get past this system, we're back to dry weather with some cool temperatures over the next several days. Well, let me show you more about this system for today. Pretty intense upper level load. This is the European model early this morning, and then we get out to midday, and there it is. That's not a bad position if you want some snow in the state of North Carolina. The trick is marginal temperatures. And so there's the European model. This is early this morning, and then there we are at the early afternoon, and then transitioning to the eastern part of the state as we get into the evening hours. This was the 0Z run of the GFS. Again, daybreak, early afternoon, and then to the late afternoon and evening. This is the 3-kilometer NAM. This is valid 10 a.m. That is valid, what would that be now? 1 p.m. after the time change. And then there we are at 3 p.m. And the 3-kilometer NAM snow totals with the 60 run, the latest run, look like that. And again, I don't think that's a terribly bad estimation, although the higher totals will be very, very sporadic. Very, very sporadic. The regional Canadian, which I think a lot of times does a great job with these systems. Let me step you through that real quick. Well, I didn't put the individual panels on there, but there's the regional Canadian right there. Its snow totals. And finally, what you just saw there, that was the high-resolution rapid refresh model. That is 1 p.m. That is, do some math here, 4 p.m. Again, the time change, you got to figure out the Zulu times again. And then that is 7 p.m. this evening. And so it prints out amounts that look like that. And that may not be a terrible estimation either. This is going to be so dependent on the rates of precipitation, marginal surface temperatures, ground temperatures that are relatively warm. There's a lot of negative factors for accumulation here. But again, with this type of dynamic system, you could certainly have some bursts of heavier snow and you get a quick accumulation of a couple of inches in some spots. So that's really a challenging forecast for today. All right, that is it for the latest edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. If you're a snow fan and you get snow, enjoy the snow, and God bless.